with the second segment of the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this second segment, we are going to talk about the most likely NFL award winners going into the end of this season. Given all that we have, the regular season is concluded. So now that that season is concluded, we can actually come up with some, I guess you could say, accurate predictions as to who's going to win what award. So we might as well start off with the big one, the MVP. I think Lamar Jackson has easily cemented and secured the MVP award this year. A lot of people, they might think it's, Josh Allen. He should be the player that deserves the MVP. But if you look at the passing yards, if you look at the amount of completions, if you look at the touchdowns, and you look at the interceptions, Lamar Jackson is basically better in every single one of those categories. And there's really no argument for which one is the MVP, really. I mean, Jackson is having a better statistical season than his previous two MVP awards, and he's had ridiculous career highs, including in passing yards, 3,955, passing touchdowns at 39, and a passer rating of 121.6. He has the best passer rating in the NFL, and he's just an overall fantastic dual threat at the quarterback position. And really, that's really like all you need to be that competent of a quarterback. Just lead in the stats and make it to the playoffs and win a couple games. Obviously, there are going to be a lot of people that think if the Bengals had a better record, that Joe Burrow would have won the MVP, and he most likely would have. But again, you have to have you have to be able to win. And do things like that. Like, if you're not winning, then the chances of you being selected for an award are very, very slim. Now, the offensive player of the year, now this is just, this could be any player that plays, it could be wide receiver, it could be quarterback, although it's less likely that they are. And in this season, I think that the offensive player of the year is going to be Saquon Barkley. As we know, Saquon ended up reaching 2,000 yards per scrimmage on the last week that he played. And hold on just 1 second. I'm looking at some more stats with Saquon. Aside from actually helping the Eagles make the playoffs, he became just the 9th player in the history of the NFL to rush for over 2,000 yards in a single season. And obviously, that's just incredible for what he's been able to do. And being coming from New York and still being even more dominant than what you already thought you were and what many people thought you were is something that's very impressive and something that's very difficult to do. So I think he has the best chances of being named the Offensive Player of the Year. He's most likely not going to win the MVP, even though that was a debate for 1 week and then that was it. Because, simply put, there's not going to be a single running back in the NFL that's more valuable to a team than a really good quarterback. That's just never going to happen. Then the next award on this list, the Defensive Player of the Year, it's probably going to go to T.J. Watt. And he's on the Steelers. He's a player that sort of makes these game-changing plays and game-winning plays. You could argue that he's been Pittsburgh's most valuable player on defense for a very long time. He has 11.5 sacks and 19 tackles for loss, both of them are ranked at top 5 in the NFL, and he has a league-high 6 forced fumbles, which is unbelievable and is very impressive for somebody on the defensive side of the ball. And he's a pretty good reason why the Steelers keep winning a bunch of games. They're unable to do that in the playoffs, of course, but in the regular season, this team they're a great team defensively, and they're able to, despite not having a really potent offense, they're able to stay in the game long enough thanks to their defense. And Broncos star Patrick Surtain II is another worthy candidate of this award, but I think, since TJ Watt has the much more, I guess you could say, popular name, and a lot more people know him, that'll influence people I feel like that would encourage more people to vote for him, just because, he does have a rather popular name. Now, the next player and the next award on this list is going to be Offensive Rookie of the Year, and who else but Jaden Daniels, the quarterback for the Commanders, and he's easily been arguably one of the best quarterbacks in this league, and he already has a playoff win, but outside of the playoffs, he's helped his team win in close situations throughout a majority of the season. He leads rookie quarterbacks in basically every single major category. He set the NFL's all-time record for rushing yards for a rookie quarterback at 864. He's been the best and most consistent rookie quarterback this season. And most importantly is the fact that he led the Commanders to make it to the postseason for the first time in a very long time. And Washington, they finally have their starting quarterback and their franchise player. So it's only going to look up for them as the years go on. Again, he has just been a phenomenal quarterback in this league. Now, Defensive Rookie of the Year, that is probably going to go to Jared Verse, the outside linebacker for the Rams. And the Rams, they decided to use their top two 2024 draft picks on Verse and a defensive lineman named Braden Fisk. So it was meant to try and fill the void from losing Aaron Donald. And it's nearly impossible to replace Aaron Donald, of course, but both rookies have done a really good job and are in the Defensive Rookie of the Year conversations. Now, Verse is one of the Rams' best defensive players, and in his first season, already being regarded as one of your team's best defensive players is a very admirable thing. And through his first 16 career games, he registered second in most pressures with 72. And he came into Week 17 as the only rookie to have multiple games with 3 or more quarterback hits in the season. And the first rookie to accomplish this since Micah Parsons back in 2021. And Parsons ended up winning NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year in that season. So, no real shocker if he ends up winning this award. And now, Comeback Player of the Year, I just think it's Joe Burrow. I mean, he's had one of the best QB seasons. It's just the defense that's really the issue. Now, again, I think everyone in the world agrees that if the Bengals weren't 8-8, then Burrow would be in MVP conversations. Despite the Bengals' place in the standings, Burrow's place in NFL passing yards and touchdown passes, he's number one in both of them. It's a career high in both, of course, but his passing yards were 4,641, and he had 42 passing touchdowns. So he won Comeback Player of the Year in 2021 after he returned from a season-ending knee injury. Obviously, when you return from an injury, you have a really good chance of being named the Comeback Player of the Year. But since he's the franchise quarterback, he should be the front runner to win the trophy again this year after bouncing back from a wrist injury that cut his 2023 season short. So he's coming off of a year where he was injured, and I believe he hurt his throwing hand. But of course, we can clearly see that he is just fine and playing some of the best football out there. But again, really unfortunate that his team couldn't end up being in the winning column. Probably would have been one of the more dangerous teams in this year if they had a solid defense, because with Joe Burrow scoring as efficiently as he is, I mean, that's just a very difficult team to beat if they have a really solid defense, because it's like that's always been the only problem for the Bengals all of last season, the fact that their defense would just constantly hold them down. And finally, the last award, Coach of the Year, it's most likely going to go to Kevin O'Connell for the Vikings, because again, this is a team that has fooled us several times, and this is now a team that has fooled us into thinking that Sam Darnold was a competent quarterback because of how great they were all season. They were a 14-win team. They're also the first 14-win team to lose in the wild card round, by the way. But really, the biggest accomplishment is making this Vikings team look like a competent team despite having Sam Darnold at quarterback. Like, that is really like the biggest surprise, at least in my opinion. The fact that Sam Darnold was able to make this team look competent, and the fact that he looked competent at the quarterback. I mean, he ended up recording 4,153 passing yards, 35 passing touchdowns with a passer rating of 106. Like, that is ridiculous. They have a top 5 passing offense and a top 5 scoring defense, which is also just amazing coaching. And really, the fact that a lot of people were thinking that this was one of the best teams in the NFL is absolutely incredible, and that should not be taken lightly, because we know Sam Darnold is a joke. And I don't, no disrespect, but again, yes, he is a little bit of a joke. Like, especially after this performance, like, he lost out on so much money, it's not even funny. But that's all that I have in this second segment, talking about the award winners. Now we're going to go into the third segment, where I talk about the most likely position that Travis Hunter is going to enter in this year's draft. So I'll be right back after this short break.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.